This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
I probably said this last year, but I'll just go ahead and repeat myself. I didn't realize
it was really good. It's worth it.
Didn't realize Mike McCarthy's birthday was Sunday. He's 61 now. So when I look at him, I go, man, he's 3 years younger than me. And I'm like, okay, maybe if he shaved his goatee or mustache, he'd look a little younger. He looks. I think he looks older than 61.
What would I have guessed?
Yeah, I should have asked you that.
What would I have guessed?
My guess is you probably would have guessed maybe he was in his late 50s.
I think I would have guessed he was younger than 61.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you're right, late 50s, not too far off from that.
Yeah. He said this after Sunday's game. You can't win turning the ball over 5 times. I don't give a blank who lines up. That's the part we've got to get right. That's after they lost to the Eagles 34-6. They're now 3-6. The Cowboys are. They've lost more games than it did in any of its previous 3 seasons, and they've lost 4 in a row. And they'll play Houston on Monday night. And Houston, they're not really having the year that we thought they were going to have either.
I still think. I think they went through a little bit of kind of figuring things out after losing Stephon Diggs. They played well in that game last week, and they should have won.
Should have won. Mm-hmm.
And the Lions are, good besides
team.
The Chiefs, the best team in the NFL. So
might be,
that's a good football team. So I don't feel like that was a bad performance by them.
Okay.
But definitely one that they let get away from them.
Yeah, the Cowboys, obviously the turnovers were a big problem with, Zeke fumbling and, the son causing a 6th turnover technically, that Jerry refuses to, put curtains up or mini blinds or something, change the windows. Somebody on the text line yesterday said their wife worked for a company and that had put out a bid for the Cowboys to kind of either change the windows so they tinted as the sun got on them, which would make a hell of a lot of sense, but it didn't. It never panned out. So it just seems like they should have been able to. It's an east-west stadium, which is kind of weird because most are north-south. So this the angle of which it is. The architects should have known that it was going to be a problem. But anyway, it is what it is. Jerry may do what they do in Dallas. Plow it under and build a new one. Make it go north-south. Now that they've got all the hotels and bars and all that stuff figured out over there, and you could build another one next to it, like the Rangers did.
Wow.
You have 4 stadiums over there.
Goodness.
Make Jerry World just a concert venue, and make pregame spot for before the Cowboys game.
Seems like that'd be an expensive adventure.
Yeah, it would. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Bullfighter says you can win after turning the ball over 5 times because the Lions did that. Yeah,
that's right. They did.
They did do that. Mm-hmm. They did do that. What's interesting is the Jerry has said there's going to be no coaching changes, and technically he doesn't have to fire Mike McCarthy or any of his coaches because their agreements expire. Mm-hmm. So there's no payout or anything like that. It's just we've chosen not to renew contracts. Technically that's a firing, but it's not like anybody's going to walk away with any money at the end of the day.
Do you think that there's any chance that Mike McCarthy is back as the head coach next year?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Because, Jerry called him a great coach on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean,
I just feel like that
owners and GMs say that all the time.
Sure.
In the middle of the season.
I just feel like that. I feel like that they've lost hope, and when you lose hope, that's when coaching changes take place.
I completely agree. That's why I think there's no chance that Mike McCarthy returns.
I think you're probably right on that. This article that I read last night, I don't know how credible this particular guy is, but he says he has 3 names that Jerry should consider. Okay, that Jerry should consider for the next coach of the Cowboys. Number 1 on his list will be a coach that has won a Super Bowl in the past. He's lost a Super Bowl in the past. He's won a national championship. In fact, 2 of them. But I just don't think that the Cowboys are going to go hire Pete Carroll.
I wouldn't guess so.
I mean, I just think his age gets in the way of that. Mm-hmm. And then number 2 on his list is a guy that you're really, 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 really familiar with. But I don't know if he wants to be a head coach. Maybe he does. Because number 2 on the list is Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, that would be shocking to me.
That he wants to be a head coach, or that he'd be the coach of the Cowboys, or both?
That the Cowboys would hire him.
Yeah. And supposedly the Chicago Bears are interested in him too.
Bears want an offensive mind to work with a young quarterback, I'm sure.
And he's got experience of working with him too. So it seems to be going really well for him right now with the Washington Commanders. Even though they lost this past weekend, they're 7-3, and they're in 2-0 in the division. And then the third is just absolutely ridiculous. The third guy that he lists here, this is what makes it laughable. Tony Romo.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's fun.
He said, now before you discount this candidate, I say not so fast. He says Romo is a beloved former player. He would be easily able to identify with the current roster and pressure of NFL play and expectations in Dallas. But most importantly, he may be the only potential candidate who could make it work, at least for a few seasons, with Jerry Jones. Surely. I mean, I don't know that getting along with Jerry has never been the problem. It seems like doesn't seem like he's the fire and brimstone kind of owner, GM. The problem is that he just doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, if he'd get out of the way and hire a bona fide general manager, that's the best thing. But the problem is people wouldn't believe it.
If he hired a GM?
Yeah, a true GM.
It would be shocking.
Yeah, but would people believe that it would be actually the case? Mm-hmm. I don't know that they would.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Today is November 12th, 2024. Here is Jeff McGuire.
Starting in 1920, Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis is elected as the first baseball commissioner by team owners. Do y'all remember why?
Was that because of the Black Sox scandal?
That is because of the Black Sox scandal from 1919.
Ding.
Another thing we can blame on the White Sox, because then we get commissioners in baseball.
Oh.
Way to go, boys. Appreciate it. 1953, U.S. District Judge Grimm rules the NFL can block out TV home games.
Yeah. Did for a long time.
1959, White Sox second baseman Nellie Fox wins the AL MVP. In 72, the 22nd NASCAR Winston Cup is awarded. Richard Petty wins his 4th cup. 3 years later, the 25th Winston Cup is awarded. Richard Petty wins his 6th. Might want to keep an eye on that Richard Petty guy. He seems like he's pretty good at this.
He's kind of the
old 43 car.
Yeah. The 43. It
was like my favorite Matchbox car when I was a kid.
Okay.
Good old STP.
Yep.
It's kind of a Pablo Nervi of stock car racing.
Well, I mean, there's only one Pablo Nervi.
Yeah.
1975, New York Met Tom Seaver wins his 3rd Cy Young Award. In 77, Billy Taylor runs for 127 yards, and quarterback Rodney Allison runs for a touchdown as number 18 Texas Tech beats SMU 45-7 to improve to 7-2 on the year. 1990, the body bag game took place after Eagles coach Buddy Ryan threatens beating Redskins so badly they'll have to be carted off in body bags. The Eagles defense scores 3 touchdowns, winning 28-14, knocking 8 Redskins out of the game.
As much as I didn't like him, I do miss him.
1995, Dan Marino breaks Fram Tarkington's NFL all-time passing mark of 47,003 yards. And in 2019, former Houston Astros pitcher Mike Fiers reveals team secretly stole signs via cameras from the visiting team's 2015 through 2017. Comms between opposing pitchers and catchers were intercepted and relayed to the Astros batters.
I wonder if he regrets, or if he had just a guilty conscience and he feels better by the fact that he admitted that his team did that.
It's funny. I don't even, now that you say that it was Mike Fiers, I'd forgotten that it was him.
Yeah.
Like, to me, he's not, known for that or whatever. He's not known as being a great MLB player or anything like that. He was okay, whatever. But I don't like that name when I think of the Astros scandal. I don't think of him starting it. I kind of had forgotten about his entire role.
And he was then playing for a new team.
Yeah, Oakland, I believe.
Yeah,
if I remember
and letting them know, hey, by the way, this is what they're doing.
Yep.
We might want to do something so they don't do it to us.
Yeah.
Happy National French Dip Day. I am a huge fan.
I'm not.
Huge fan.
Jamie, do you like the French dip?
I mean, if we're being honest, I've never tried it, but it doesn't look like something that I would like.
It doesn't smell like something that I think that you would like.
So good.
Yeah.
Italian beef, bread, cheese, dip in au jus sauce. Oh, so good. You can have one right now. Happy birthday, Anne Hathaway, 42. Ryan Gosling, 44. Russell Westbrook, 36. Neil Young, 79. Sammy Sosa, 56. And Al Michaels is 80 today.
Okay.
And then this day, 1954, Ellis Island, the gateway to America, shuts down its doors after processing more than 12 million immigrants since opening in 1892. Tens of millions of Americans today can trace their roots through Ellis Island, located in New York Harbor off New Jersey coast, and named for the merchant Samuel Ellis, who owned the island in the 1770s. This day sports history.
All right, time for our lucky local winning word, brought to you by the Home Zone and Double T 97.3. We give this to you every morning at 6:45, 6:50-ish, 8:45, pretty prompt, and 4:45 in the afternoon. All you have to do is go to doublet97.3.com, log in with the word that I'm about to give you, and you could win $250 from Double T 97.3 in the Home Zone, making your house a home. Go to doublet97.3.com and enter this word, travel. Travel. Sometimes you travel to go play a ball game. Sometimes travel is called in the game and resulting in a turnover. Okay? Hopefully the number of travels will be limited tonight for the Lady Raiders, and hopefully they will force New Mexico to travel a little bit more than what they want to. Okay? Travel. 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 Go to doublet97.3.com. Enter that word, and you could be a winner just like Jamie Lent. Okay? 6:51 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to doublet97.3.com for that. Latest, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but continued bowl projections are out for teams. Texas Tech, according to Brett McMurphy of Action Network, has Tech playing in the Birmingham Bowl. They've been there before. That's December the 27th. They would face North Carolina State there, according to him. Jerry Palm has Tech in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. That's in Orlando on December 28th to take on SMU. I'm sure SMU would rather be in the ACC championship and then the college football playoff. Seems like they're really got a good path to that. Also, ESPN has a couple of different opinions there. One has them headed to the Guaranteed Rate Bowl to take on Nebraska. And that would be Matt Rule, and Joey McGuire's son coaches there as well. And then another guy has. I don't think this is going to happen. I don't think there's a chance at all. Texas Tech playing Texas A&M in the Texas Bowl. There's no way. That's just not going to happen.
I don't think the Aggies would go for that.
Yeah, I think you could bet the house in your neighbor's house and Jamie's house, and come up with 16 houses, and that's just not going to happen. Tech and A&M haven't played since 2011. Another guy from 24/7 Sports has Tech against Miami in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Miami's still trying to get into the college football playoff, although
it feels like they would have to fall off quite a bit, right?
But they took a hit this past weekend because they lost to Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
So that's I wouldn't go buying tickets anytime soon, but that's kind of where we're headed.
And which game was that?
Well, the last one was
versus Miami.
Versus Miami was Pop-Tarts. So a couple people have you still playing in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. And it looks like the Big 12 is only going to get one team in the college football playoff. Is what it would seem right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I think you're going to get to a point where, like, let's just say BYU's undefeated when they get to the Big 12 championship game. And let's say whomever they play, whether it's K-State or Colorado or whomever, beats them. I'm not sure that they have enough skins on the wall, even going undefeated in the regular year, but losing in the Big 12 championship game, that would be able to get them into the college football playoff.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's in the scenario you're talking about. Colorado would obviously get in as the champ over BYU. BYU with just one loss. And, I mean, did they have enough quality wins?
Right.
K-State kind of fizzling here at the end kind of hurts them in that regard.
Yeah.
Because that was probably their best win.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think it would be hard for BYU to get in with a loss in the Big 12 championship game.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
With Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire, I'm Chuck Heinz. Great to have you with us today on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. We look forward to hearing from you on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app for that. It's presented by Happy State Bank. Somebody agrees with me on the BYU comment in its new playoff system. The Big 12 is viewed just a half step ahead of where the Mountain West and AAC were viewed in the old system. No, I think you're ahead. Although I don't think you are now. I would have said at the beginning of the year I thought you were ahead of the ACC, but I don't know that you are, Jamie. You might be fourth in football.
It's pretty close either way. 3 and 4 are real close, yeah.
And then obviously there's a big step between.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but
it's only because I feel because you've got SMU in contention, you got Miami in contention, and it just feels like maybe the level of competition has just been a step above the Big 12.
And when we say you got BYU in contention and you got Colorado in contention, but couldn't we say the same thing?
Yeah, I just feel like.
I mean, we have an undefeated team.
We do, yeah, we do. I don't know. It just doesn't feel as strong for some reason. Maybe it's just
because we lost.
No, because
if we had beaten Colorado, it would be worse because then we would only have BYU that's undefeated in Big 12 play.
I'm sorry. I just really wasn't that impressed with Colorado. I mean, I was to a degree, but I wasn't to a degree. I mean, if you could have just hung on to the football and maybe just made some adjustments a little bit, I mean, that game was there for you. That game was there for you to win. Despite all the problems in the second half with blocking and things like that, you still had a chance to win if you could have just protected the football. I mean, that interception, I mean, I felt like, man, we're rolling on that drive. Just felt like it felt like, okay, man, I was feeling it, and then boom, intercepted.
So you put the loss squarely on Tech lost it as opposed to Colorado won that game.
No.
And you can do that. That's fine. That's your perspective. There's no wrong answer here.
No, you certainly, I mean, I just didn't. I guess I just expected Travis Hunter to be. I know he caught 9 balls for 99 yards. Okay, I know that. I know Shadur had. I mean, he looked very comfortable in the pocket. And I know all that. I don't feel like your defense lost that game for you. I feel like your offense lost that game for you, and I feel like that you made decisions that lost that game for you, whether it was going for it on 4th down or not being able to make adjustments with your offensive line or your quarterback's inability to move around in the pocket or refusal to move around in the pocket or can't move around in the pocket. I don't feel like it was a dominating Colorado win like some might look at this.
You gave up 41. I don't think anybody looks at it as a dominating Colorado win. They were losing 13-0.
I know you did, but
I think
17 of those points were off of turnovers that were relatively easy points.
Again, nobody calls it a dominating performance from Colorado.
Yeah,
nobody does. Okay, it's funny because you give up 41 points, and I don't think anybody's blaming the defense for this.
No,
I do not. Okay, do not at all. I mean, the point that you're making, the turnovers, the going for the fake punt and not getting it. And again, we all know if it works, we're all talking about how great of a play it was, but it didn't work. And so ultimately you're left with a short field and an easy path for their offense and a difficult challenge for your defense where you didn't really help them out in that situation. You go full quarters like you did without doing anything offensively, your defense is going to wear down.
Yeah.
Your defense is going to wear down, and you're giving the other team just too many opportunities. So, I mean, you got to find a way to be more consistent on offense. At times, our offense looks really good, and at times it looks like it just got dominated. And you can point to a whole bunch of different factors in that, whether you want it to be the offensive line, the quarterback, the coaching, all the above. All the above, right? The drops, whatever. There are plenty of blame to go around. But the truth of the matter is your offense was just not consistent in that game, didn't consistently put pressure on Colorado. And because of that, it looked like to me that your defense just got wore down.
And I guess I just look at it, after the 2 drives that resulted in field goals, it just felt like you wanted to run the football. And it's like, man, those passing plays were working. Those passing plays were, and I realize they're starting to bring some pressure, but those passing plays were working. I just wonder why we got away from the pass. Which is
something we have not heard all season long. It's all about the last couple of seasons about why did we get away from the run.
Yeah, I know.
And now we're talking about why did we get away from the pass.
Well, it just felt like well, that was working.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's remember they sacked him 7 times.
I understand.
So clearly they were getting after him.
I know, but
yeah, I mean, you might need to protect your offensive line a little bit because of that.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I guess the other thing that's going through my mind, and we've discussed this before, is I feel like, and look, this is not just this current regime. This is others as well. I feel like that sometimes that the fan base has outperformed the football team. The support that the fan base has given these coaching staffs really over the last 12 to 14 seasons has outperformed your football team in terms of your attendance, and how you've been pumped up for the big games and how you've come in, that by and large, the support that you've given for whether it's the south end zone, the east side, the west side, the north side, the NIL money, all that stuff, it's like, man, we deserve a little bit more in terms of wins.
I don't think anybody would disagree with you on that. I'm just a little bit confused at the point you're trying to make.
I don't know, just frustrated.
Yeah.
just
maybe a little bit of, you just said it there,
Just frustrated.
I deserve better kind of feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when your wife does all these things for you and she says, you know what, I deserve a little love back too. Maybe yours doesn't, and I'm not saying mine does, but I'm just saying she probably deserves better than she gets from me from time to time. Okay?
It's a good looking shovel you got over there, Chuck.
She probably deserves more than what I give her. Okay?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think those guys are. I get your frustration. I mean, everybody's got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. So what is the point?
I don't know. I don't have.
Hey, unless you start winning, I'm not gonna cheer as much.
No, that's not it. That's not it. And I think they all know that. I think they can. They're not stupid. They look at that and they're probably just as frustrated, going, "Hey, we've provided all this stuff, man. We need to have 8 or 9 or 10 that every once in a while. Would be." And I'm sure they're all going, "Hey, we're right there with you. We are right there with you.
We can still get to 8.
We can still get to 8.
I'm nervous about that, but
yeah. Somebody says every fan base should outperform their team unless you're the last team standing. Well, I think this fan base is more than bucked up, and it's just frustrating. And again, everybody's frustrated. I'm sure there's way more people that have way more skin in the game than any of us that is equally frustrated, if not more frustrated.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
All right, gentlemen, today's question involves the quarterback position for the Red Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
Many have thought maybe the rest of the season that there should be an emphasis on young players. I'm here to ask you today, what percentage of the reps at quarterback the rest of the season do you want to see Baron Morton taking? Obviously, the remainder would go to Will Hammond.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm going to say this. Either 90 or 10. And I think I lean more to the 90 in this next game and 10 against West Virginia. I don't know. That seems like a stupid answer. What percentage? Because I do subscribe to the old theory of, well, if you got 2, you don't have 1, and we need to find out if the real challenge now is, what's going to happen next year? Does one of them decide to leave? Does one of them say, hey, I'm ready to go, man. I'm ready to play. Will Hammond may go, I'm ready to play, like now. Or like right now. I'm going to say I want to see Will Hammond in at least 40% of the snaps the next 2 games.
So 60%.
For Baron Morton. And 40 for Will Hammond.
Okay. We'll do the math for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Man. You've already got 6 wins. You got a chance at 8.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking about benching your starting quarterback.
I mean,
that's what where this leads to, because if you're making the change for younger players right now, you're benching your starting quarterback. I'm not there yet. Now, practice reps versus game reps, I think those are a little bit different. Game reps, Baron Morton is still your starting quarterback. practice reps, if you went 80-20 for practice reps, because you still have things to play for this year. You can still improve your lying in the bowl picking order. You can still improve what you did from last year to this year. You can still get 8 wins, which is not something we've had a lot recently around here. And we're talking regular season wins, not getting a win in the bowl game after winning 7 games. So I'm not throwing up the white flag yet. Behren Morton's your starting quarterback.
So 100%.
100% in-game reps.
I don't have beef with you. Okay, so I don't think you're in a situation where it doesn't matter if you win or lose these next 2 games. Okay, I don't think you're in that situation. I want to get to 8-4. Okay?
Okay.
I will also tell you that I am at a point where I am not certain which of the quarterbacks gives you the better chance to do that. Okay? I think we have to find out exactly what we have in Will Hammond. Okay? And I do fear that if you do not play him the rest of the year, moving forward, he may feel like, with Morton having another year, he doesn't have a chance to be the starter next year, and he decides to go elsewhere. I feel like he has the bigger upside. There's no question in my mind he has the bigger upside. But is Behren the better quarterback right now with the experience and age
Probably
that he
so.
has?
Yeah.
I think probably he is.
Yeah.
Okay? So I feel like I'm at a point where, and so I don't know if I can give you the exact number I want to get to. I would like to see Will Hammond take about 1 out of every 3 drives. And after halftime, you play who's ever playing the best. Okay? Who gives you the best chance to win.
Okay.
Okay? So in the first half, give me 67% for Behren Morton. 2 out of 3. Okay? And in the second half, whoever's got it going. These lulls of going quarters without being able to do anything, we got to stop them.
Whose fault is that, do you think?
All the above.
Okay.
Okay? All the above. And these situations where, like on the third drive of the game, where you miss an wide open receiver that because you never, I guess you don't see him. There are some out there that have screenshots of him looking right at Josh Kelly and not throwing the ball. You have to figure it out. Mm-hmm. We have to figure out what we saw from Will Hammond offensively at TCU was a guy that gave your offense some spark. It looked like things were a little bit different. He makes quick decisions. Okay, again, I'm not here to tell you right now he's the best quarterback for you, but I think you gotta figure it out. And so you're figuring it out for next year while you're also figuring it out for right now. And maybe it puts a little pressure on Behren Morton. I don't know. Is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. I am not totally out on Behren Morton. I don't think he's terrible, but I think he's solid. But I think Will Hammond has the bigger upside, and I wonder if we're kind of treading water right now.
All right, so you had 6 drives in the first half, which is kind of generally where you are. The 7th drive was you took over with 19 seconds left. So in your scenario, Morton would have 4 drives and Hammonds would have 2?
Sure.
Okay. And then at halftime, you make a decision as to which direction you're going to go? Man,
I don't even care if you don't look good on the first 2 drives. I don't care if you and Hammond came in and looked good. I don't care if you just stick with Hammond.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. At the same time, I'd have a hard time. I really truly would. So this is kind of me talking out of both sides of my mouth. If your offense is moving up and down the field after the first couple of drives, you going, okay, now we're going to switch quarterbacks. Yeah, I don't think that would be the right move either. I think you got to find ways to get him in here. When you start to feel like the offense has hit a wall, do something different. Do something different. And you know what? And then since we're so good at scripting the first couple drives for one guy, can we do a script for the other guy too?
Right.
we using the second quarter or something?
Go alternate. Hey, this guy's got a script. 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 Kind of keep them off balance a little bit. 7:40 this morning. If you have an opinion on that, and many of you do, we'll get to those
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Brass monkeys.
Just one monkey.
Brass monkey?
Yeah, just one monkey.
Just one monkey? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just proving that Clint Scott has no idea what he's actually talking about. Because we have now played both of the Beastie Boys songs that Clint has allegedly said that Jamie will rap to, and I have heard no rapping from Jamie. So Clint Scott is, in fact, crazy.
Again, I know what you're trying to do here.
Yeah.
I'm proving Clint Scott is crazy. That is what I am doing.
You didn't have to prove that. We all knew that.
Well,
That's a given.
Yeah.
I mean, he says he keeps trying to do something that clearly is not going to ever happen. Because Jamie's not a rapper.
Okay.
Now, if we were playing Shaq, that might be a different story.
Somebody says this with regard to that USC Texas Tech game in 1979. I met my future in-laws at the USC game for the first time.
That's cool.
Must have made a good impression.
Yeah, killed it, must be.
Killed it, right? Mm-hmm. Killed it. We will have tonight the high school fan zone at 7 on 100.7 The Score. Monterey and Lubbock High coaches coming in to visit. Monterey will be in the playoffs on Thursday. And I misspoke. I assumed something, and I shouldn't have. Monterey won the district championship outright because Tascosa beat Amarillo last Friday night. Okay. So, I mean, they got the gold ball all to themselves. There weren't multiple gold balls. Remember when Abilene came to town? It was like, hey, make sure you got a gold ball because if we beat you guys, we will make sure that we get that gold ball. And they didn't. And Amarillo had a chance to tie for a district championship, but they lost to Tascosa last week, 34-29 on Friday night. So, and the coach at Tascosa, his son plays football for Texas Tech. Coach Plunk's son plays for Texas Tech. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Let's see here. This from the Yates Flooring Center chat line just makes sense. The more wins, the bigger the bowl game, opponent, payout, and exposure. That's why it matters in terms of getting to 8 wins. Okay. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Sure.
It's also more fun to win.
Yes. It's also more. It's more fun to win. Let's see here. Yates Flooring Center. It doesn't matter how much you pay a quarterback if you don't have an offensive line to protect. Well, there's
very, 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 very true.
Yeah, and we've talked about that, and you'd certainly like to. Everybody's looking for that too, right? The Cowboys did it back in the day with Craig Morton and Roger Staubach, and to your point, the team didn't really get good until Tom Landry stuck with Staubach. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Somebody says just sit in Morton in the next game and see if Hammond can light it up. If not, go back to Morton. I don't know if you can. You can't just do that.
Yeah, I'm not ready to just throw away the game and say it doesn't matter. I'm not there.
This Morton looks good at times, but seems like to go tempo with a sense of urgency helps our offense, like the last drive at Iowa State. Also, more creativity in your play calls. Yeah, they did seem to slow down a little bit at certain point in time in the game on Saturday. I don't disagree. Hammond has a higher upside. That being said, 2 quarterbacks always makes you worse and creates division in a fan base. Not for it. PTSD from Sheffield. Wow, that's going back a few years. But you're probably not wrong. Need to do something different. The same routine only works on a team in high school. Okay. I think you need to have an offensive line before we dictate the quarterback play. Yeah. All right. So here was my Big 12 overall question for you. So you've only had 1 week this year in regular Big 12 play where everybody played. You've got 4 teams with byes again this week. You had 4 last week. You had 6 the week before, 2 the week before that, the week of October the 19th. Now, the week of November 23rd and the 30th, everybody's going to play. The first 2 weeks of the season, everybody played, and then you've had... Do you think you need 2 byes? 2, would you like to see the Big 12 just take the whole week off 1 week? That way you have Or is that stupid talk?
Me personally, I would say no.
Okay.
Because I'm still interested in the other Big 12 games. So if we're not playing, at least I have something to be interested in. I'm not very much interested in matchups in the SEC or the Big 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I want some of the games that I'm interested in.
Okay, so it doesn't really
Why would we do that?
I don't know. It seems like the schedule gets watered down a little bit when you only have 12 of your teams playing 6 games. It was really bad the week of November the 2nd when you had 6 teams that were out, so you only had 5 games. Mm-hmm. That was bad. I would think that you would want to be in a situation where you'd have no more than 4. And you did that the week of October 12th too. You had 6 teams that had byes, and the week of October 5th you had 5 teams that had byes, and the week that September the 28th you only had 2 teams with byes, and the 21st you had 2 teams with byes. I don't know. It seemed to me like you could just level it out a little bit better than that. So you didn't have 6 teams off one week. That seems too much.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not building an outrage factory over it. I'm not even building a strip center over it. It was just something that just kind of stood out to me and went, all right. I just happened to have this in my folder. This is dated June the 20th. This is my poll for the Big 12. This is not looking very good, Jamie.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that probably have the same problem this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had Oklahoma State 1, Utah 2, Kansas State 3, Arizona 4, Texas Tech 5, UCF 6. I did have Kansas 7th, Colorado 8th. That's bad. TCU 9th, West Virginia 10, Iowa State 11. That's bad. BYU 14th. That's really bad. And Houston 15 and Arizona State 16. They're not going to finish 16th.
The last one was also pretty bad.
Yeah, it was. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Arizona State has definitely surprised people.
Yeah. Yeah. So not looking really good there.
I'm sure mine would have been something similar to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just took the time to make sure that I had it so that I could brag about it when it came out, and now I can't.
How's that working for you?
It's not. But at least I'm humble enough to admit that I was wrong in a big time way. I thought you'd enjoy that. Currently BYU is first, in Colorado, then Iowa State, Kansas State, Arizona State, and West Virginia are all tied. Those people in West Virginia, man, they're probably anxious for this week's game to see if West Virginia can lose. Get on the Rich Rod bandwagon or Jimbo Fisher bandwagon. And then there's some that just are convinced that Nick Saban's going to say, "Hey, I'm not done. I'm going to go back to Morgantown and fix my hometown team or my home state team." Right? That'd be.
I think those people probably had more moonshine than they'd like to admit.
West Virginia plays host to Baylor this week. Next week it's UCF.
That's an interesting one to me.
Absolutely, absolutely, and even the next week as well. Another potential interesting game is Kansas State playing host to Arizona State.
Yeah.
I would think K-State would win that game. Colorado plays host to Utah.
Not interesting.
Okay.
Houston, Arizona, not interesting.
BYU, Kansas, no.
Cincinnati, Iowa State, that one's interesting too.
Okay. Yeah. I would buy into some of that. Let's see. Outrage Strip Center, horse name. Okay. The thugs were the fans throwing objects on the field other than tortillas. Yeah. We get this. I'm not always humble, but when I am, I'm amazing at it.
You may be the first person that I've ever heard brag about being humble.
Didn't really mean it like that, but that's certainly how it came out.
One of a kind, Chuck Heinz.
Well, thank God for that, right?
That's right.
Thank God for that. We don't need any more of this, do we?
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.